we'd like to ask you to make some noise if you consider yourself to be funny. You know, based on the way that I've seen everybody heckling the presenters in the Slido, I think you're right. Yes. Right, so being funny is a huge topic. It is studied by scientists, anthropologists, marketing agencies. I usually teach this as a multi-day workshop, and we are going to get through it in 20 minutes. Yes. So I will give you some exercises to do. So what I need you is to be attentive and to have something to write down your hilarious ideas as they come up. Are we good? Yes. Awesome. Right. So making something funny is a huge thing. I think that we've all been funny in our lives, but the question is, if you are at work and you are commanded to put some humor, something funny into what you're working on, could you do it on command? Especially if you are in any one of these three scenarios. Maybe you have to speak at a work conference like this one. I know I always try to put a little humor into anything I'm talking about at work, no matter how boring or technical it is. Because if the audience laughs, I know they're not asleep. Yes. And I work a lot with non-native English speakers, so if they don't laugh, I know they probably didn't understand me. And I have to explain again. Or maybe you have to write something funny for work, and you're like, oh no, if it's funny, it means I have to do it. I can't ask ChatGPT because ChatGPT is not funny. Yes. Or maybe you have to make some social media content to expand your reach. And every time someone says, it's easy, all you need to do is have a good hook, you want to punch them in the face. If it were easy, we would all be doing it. But if there's one takeaway that I want you to have from today, anything from this talk, is that you do not have to be born funny in order to be funny. Being funny is a muscle that you can train. And what I want to do today is basically show you around the comedy gym and show you how to use some of the comedy gym machines so that you can train on your own should you wish to do so. A bit about me. I've been doing stand-up comedy for the past 6 years. I started because I work for a giant bureaucracy where I can't say or write anything without 7 other people saying, you did that wrong, that's not clear. And nobody ever listens to me in meetings. So I found out that it's amazing that we have this art form of stand-up comedy which can allow you to get up on stage, say whatever you want without censorship. And sometimes people even pay you for it. So as I travel, I organize pop-up comedy shows. I have been teaching digital nomads how to do stand-up comedy. So if you are sticking around Bansko this summer, I will be organizing some free stand-up comedy workshops, and that is something that you can check out. Yay! Now, what we want to do today is demystify what happens here in the middle between a joke and a laugh. There are a number of things that trigger laughter. And of course, this varies person to person, culture to culture. But researchers have actually been trying to come up with a universal theory of humor that applies everywhere in the world. It is called the benign violation theory. So what this says is that something is funny if it is both benign, meaning it is harmless to you, and it is a violation, which means that it violates something you believe about how the world should be. Here we have our examples. Benign, walking down a flight of stairs. Very boring, very mundane. Violation, falling. Because usually when we fall, something bad has just happened. Falling is a violation of how we think the world should be. But if you put those two together in the middle, you get falling down the stairs. Classic comedy. And even funnier if it's someone else falling down the stairs, because that distance from you makes it benign. My personal observation is that whenever I see bad comedy, the people who make a joke and it doesn't land. It's because they missed the middle. They landed too hard, either the benign side or the violation side. If you want to learn more about this, there's any number of YouTube videos. You can also read an entire book called The Humor Code by Peter McGraw and Joel Warner. Now, my personal philosophy is that there are laugh languages. We all know love languages, right? Like words of affirmation, acts of service, or since we're all digital nomads, I think our love languages are good coffee and free trial days. But there are also laugh languages, which means that based on what triggered the laughter, there's a message in the laugh that you have to listen to. So if the laugh was triggered by surprise, what people are saying is, "Oh, you got me, I didn't see that coming." And what we're going to do in this talk is go through these laugh triggers one by one. And I'm going to give you a trick for how you can recreate it in your work, and then we're going to do an exercise to practice. So if we're all good, I'm going to start with the very first laugh language, which is surprise. I didn't see it coming. So here we have an example joke from the very great Jimmy Carr. He says, when you eat a lot of spicy food, you can lose your taste. For example, I was in India last summer, I was listening to a lot of Michael Bolton. This is a twist. You thought he was losing his taste because of the spicy food, but instead because of bad music. So I think this is no secret that surprise is the backbone of stand-up comedy. But if you had to recreate it on the spot, it's really difficult to do. The way to do it is trick number one, the broken assumption. So what you do is you figure out what your audience is thinking or assuming, and then you prove them wrong. Like for example, if you were to look at me and say, "Oh, she's got glasses, she must be smart," I would say, "Oh no, I do have glasses, but I'm not a teacher or a librarian. No, I'm just a porn star." That's how we break assumptions. So what you actually want to do is, if you have an opening line, a hook, a premise, you map out the who, what, where, when, and how, and see what you definitively know and what you assume. So here we have the example of this joke from Jimmy Carr. The who was me, I was traveling. The what? Losing my taste. When? Last summer. Where? India. The how? We assume it is eating spicy food, but that's the one that he chose to break and twist, and we have, this is Michael Bolton. So now, we are coming to our first exercise. I want you all to write down 3 assumptions people have about digital nomads, and then write a response that breaks that assumption. We have our example here. People think that most digital nomads invest in crypto, but they're wrong. To invest in crypto, you need to have money. All right, take a minute. I'm timing you. Okay, it's been about a minute. Can we have our mic runner come out here? Does anybody here want to share an assumption that they wrote down? We have a volunteer right here. Please tell us what you wrote.
They all have Peter Pan syndrome, as if they don't grow up.
They all have Peter Pan syndrome? They don't grow up. Very nice. That is a fully fledged joke. Give me a round of applause, everybody. Anyone else want to share an assumption that they wrote down? Even if there's no punchline, just the assumption.
Non-committal.
Yes, they're non-committal, which amazes me that so many people showed up for this. So we're going to move on, but if you have any good ones, what I suggest is drop it as a comment in the Slido, and then we'll get together and read them at the end of this. How does that sound? Cool. So let's move on to the next laugh language, which is absurdity. This is when you hear something ridiculous and you're like, what just happened? The example we have here is a classic Mitch Hedberg joke. You know when they have a fishing show on TV? They catch the fish and then let it go. They don't want to eat the fish. They just want to make it late for something. That is absurd, because a fish, as far as we know, cannot be late. The idea that a fish would be late is hilarious. It's irrational. It is absurd. Raise your hand if you you were in the opening session this morning, the talk with Samson and AI. Yes. Do you remember when he made you all stop and make horse noises to each other? You all laughed. Classic absurdity. That's a good example. So what you want to do if you want to recreate this is create incongruity. That's a big word. What does that mean? Incongruity is this bear in the middle of a pile of dishes. It is the dissimilar thing that doesn't belong. So if you want to create absurdity, you put together two things that are not alike. For example, I could put together Bansko Nomad Fest and a cheese sandwich. Not alike. But I could say, Bansko Nomad Fest is a lot like a cheese sandwich. I wish I could have it every day, but if I did, I would probably die. That is how incongruity works. There are 3 levels to creating incongruity. The first level is putting together 2 dissimilar things. Example 1, John Mulaney's President Trump is like a horse in the hospital. Nobody knows how he got there or what he's going to do, least of all, the horse. Level 2, throwing a dissimilar thing together in a list. Like in Bansko, you can ski, hike, and become an alcoholic. Fair enough. And then level 3 is connecting the normal with the absurd in a way that you're also making social commentary. So we have our example. I took an online personality test, and I failed it. Which raises questions. How bad is your personality? And what are you doing taking online personality tests? Now, we're going to do a quick exercise to practice. I am going to give you all a prompt. Your prompt is, a date with me is like a glass of milk. Here are my responses. A date with me is like a glass of milk. You only had it because your mom told you to. A date with me is like a glass of milk. You might not like it much, but I promise there will be no vegans. A date with me is like a glass of milk. I forgot about it for a week, and now I'm sorry. So take a minute. I want to write down some ways in which a date with you might be like a glass of milk. Okay, who's got one that they're ready to share? Okay, in the back, Becky.
A date with me is like a glass of milk. It does a body good.
It does a body good. Ooh, I like it. Good advertising. Yes.
A date with me is like a glass of milk, and if you're lactose intolerant.
If you are lactose intolerant. All right, sounds like you've got a hard dating life. All right, in the back.
Take me is like a glass of milk. I'm toxic.
Very nice. All right, and then Alex.
A date with me is like a glass of milk. You end up with a white mustache.
Observation and you go, oh my gosh, that's so true. If you ever watch Seinfeld, this is all what Jerry Seinfeld does. This example here, it's actually not that funny if you read it, but it capitalizes on the fact that we all know what a shower radio is, or at least your parents know what a shower radio is, and that it's not safe to be dancing in the shower. You hear that, you're like, yeah, that's so true. I got that. So this is where we get to trick number 3, which is to call the room. What this means is that whenever you come on stage, or if you're making a video, there's nothing funnier you can say than reacting to something that everybody else has experienced or lived. For example, we're in here. If I wanted to show that I live in the same reality as all of you, I could comment on the venue. Like the fact that all of these balloons up here make me feel like we're at a gender reveal party. I could acknowledge the problem, like the fact that we're running late and you are probably all ready for your lunchtime coffee and gelato. I could reference somebody that we all know, like Sunil. Hi, Sunil. I could call out your assumptions. Maybe you thought that this talk was going to be funnier. But guess what? If you want non-stop laughter, start to finish, you can come to the improv comedy show at Bansko Nomad Fest on Thursday night. Or you can react to a shared experience we're all having, because again, this is something that we can still do. AI, ChatGPT cannot do this yet. So now, very quick, easy exercise. I want you to write down an observation that you have about the room that we're in right now, particularly something that might be a little bit unusual or off, or its general vibe. I think this is an easy one and we don't need a whole minute. Anybody here already have an observation that they want to share? All right, this is a very basic venue with nothing interesting about it. Yes?
I think most people are still in awe about the last minute show.
About the
last minute show, the last one. I think most people are still thinking about the glass of milk joke, the last one.
That is very good calling out the vibe that's in the room right now. Okay, excellent. Anyone else? All right, if you have anything, drop it in the Slido, and we will move on to laugh language number 4. Now this one, calling out the room and using recognition, is the easiest one. The hardest laugh language to trigger is tension relief. Here, we have our joke example. I had a near-death experience recently. It was awful, and I'm still traumatized. I drank water in Bansko. When you hear that, you might think, oh no, that's like, the first part makes me on edge, a little bit scared. When you get to the second part, you're like, oh, it's fine. Water in Bansko is only poison sometimes. So what you want to do here, in order to recreate this, is take the opposite stance. If there's something everybody loves, including you, just say that you hate it. And if there's something everybody hates, say that you love it. So, I should have checked the PowerPoint before I came up here. All the pretty formatting is gone. So, be a contrarian. For me, for example, I'm an environmentalist. But if I talk about climate change, people are like, oh, she's such a bummer. But if I say, actually, climate change is a good thing. It'll make the world safer. Less bears, less avalanches, and less people living in Florida. They're like, oh, thank God, she's kidding around. I don't have to feel bad. So we're going to practice being a contrarian. Let's talk about Bansko, everybody. Make some noise if you like the local beer in Bansko, Bansko. 2 people. Make some noise if you do not like Bansko. You do not think it is a good beer. Okay, now make some noise if you have never had Bansko. Okay, 2 people over here said it was bad. Why do you think it's bad?
You know, it's not bad.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. Why is it good? Why is it good?
It's so easy to drink, it doesn't give you a hangover.
So easy to drink, doesn't give you a hangover. Why else?
I'm broke.
Cheap.
Yeah.
Cheaper than water.
Cheaper than water. Yes.
And it doesn't give you a moustache.
And it doesn't give you a moustache. Okay. So what I'd like to do is, we're going to call our MC Sunil up to the stage, and he is going to give you a rant about why Bansko is the worst beer ever, using some of the same reasons we had. We had it's cheaper than water.
Okay.
It goes down easy. And?
So what am I doing? This is on the spot, by the way.
Yes.
Okay, so what am I doing?
Give everybody a rant about why Bansko is a terrible beer, using some of the same reasons they said for why it's good.
Oh.
Cheaper than water, it goes down easy. Anything else?
Okay. So Bansko, why is bad?
Yes.
Bansko is bad because it goes down too easy. You can have so many Banskos that you end up breaking the bank. It's so cheap that you spend too much on Bansko. You maybe buy cases and cases of Bansko, and you just knock them all back, and you end up down the hill, rolling down there, and drinking more Bansko when you get to the next bar.
Well done! That's exactly how it's done. He took something and then he just turned it the opposite head. Classic comedy trick. Okay, last laugh language is shock. This is very important because as a society, we need the catharsis of people talking about forbidden and taboo topics. Nobody else does this more than the comedian Anthony Jeselnik in this joke. Yesterday, I hit a little kid with my car, but it wasn't serious. Nobody saw me. I know, it's hilarious. Shock. I don't know if you're all doing shocking things at your work, but if you are, the easiest trick to use is to identify any words that you're using that might trigger people, that are cliches, that are not safe for work, that are boring, and then just substitute them with something else that is more specific, creates an image, and shares your opinion. For example, don't say, I went on a date. Say, I subjected myself to emotional and psychological torture. In other words, I went on a date. Don't say, I'm a digital nomad. Say, I'm a homeless person who still pays taxes. Because when you're more specific, you teach people how you feel about something, and they like that. So we're coming on our last exercise now, which is that we have 3 sentences here. Come up with some substitutes for the words that are underlined on here. So find something to substitute for billionaires, for obsession, and for the word great. All right. So I'm going to pick on you two in the front row because I see you writing very fiercely. Do you have anything that you'd like to share with us? Yeah, go ahead. Go for it.
Never listen to billionaires because you will lose your family.
Say that again.
Never listen to billionaires because you will lose your family.
Because you will lose your family. Wow, very real.
I would just put never listen to tax evaders.
Never listen to tax evaders. Nailed it. That's exactly it. Anyone else want to share what they substituted in? What about Bansko Nomad Fest? You could say, instead of saying Bansko Nomad Fest is great, you could say Bansko Nomad Fest is the best decision I ever made for myself and the worst decision for my wallet. Something like that. Okay, anyways, that's the exercises. Give yourselves a round of applause.